What's going on, you guys? My name is Matt, and 52 freaking weeks I've been doing this. That's kind of cool. I want to cut to a quick clip of the first episode when I did this, because I think it's kind of funny. And today I'd like to talk about Air Pokemon cards. Next up, we have a PSA 10 1999 Diglett with the fight symbol error. I remember filming it, and I was terrified. I was literally shaking. I believe I had everything I was reading off of on my iPad. I thought I was trying to make it look cinematic. And I just knew I wanted to be good in front of the camera. Now, I'm not saying I'm good in front of the camera now, but I am more comfortable. I'm happy I've stuck with it this long, and I appreciate all of you so much. Now, let's get right into this week's episode. Kicking things off, we got a modern classic. We have a Magikarp from Pokemon 151, Scarlet and Violet, with that iCarp error. We have a big, large, repeating printer hickey over the first part of Magikarp here on the top left of the card. And it sells for a lot always. And again, with most modern cards like this, I just expect that quality is going to be good for it. You know, you pull it, you put it in the sleeve, especially if it's an error, one that you know that's valuable. Slap it in a sleeve, you'll be good. This card looks good. It was listed for $75, sold for $70. Now the fun part about these cards is average non-error price, $1.12. And so that gives us a boop 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 high EVI, error value increase if you're new. 6,150% for this error value increase. That's good enough for number 3 this week. Starting off strong, we have some weeks where we do not see any in the top 10 until like the second half of the episode, so we're starting off very strong here. Next up, we have a Celebi and Venusaur GX card, and this is a minor miscut according to CGC. Now let's see if I agree with that or not. So we got shifted over enough where we have an alignment dot in the top left corner. We got a thick border, a little bit wonky because the top left is thinner than the bottom left, and there's no border on the right side, and it's consistent on this side too, on the back side where we have an alignment dot in the top right. I guess we could call it a minor miscut. I think for modern cards like this, for it to be a major miscut, it has to have another portion of a card on it, and so I guess I'll agree with them. This was listed for $127.89, and it sold for just about that much. So it sold for about 100 Great British pounds, but the conversion rate between the two currencies changes on a daily basis. So if you're really into numbers, take what you will. It was more valuable in the US now than it was 3 days ago. Kind of neat, I guess. EVI of 183%. Next up, we have an Execute, a Pokemon that for the life of me, for the rest of my life, I will never ever spell right, and I always get it wrong, and that's alright though. A CGC 10 Reverse Hollow from Legendary Collections, and this is a misaligned print layer. Now let's take a look. Shifted right there, very cool to see. So obviously most apparent here with these energy symbols. We have right here and right here. Might be sort of a phallic shape if you add something else there. That's alright though, we won't talk about it. Shifted down several millimeters, and this is actually a repeating error. So repeating errors are cool, CGC 10s are cool, and Reverse Hollow from Legendary Collections are cool. So overall, we got a nice looking card here. EVI, nothing crazy, but this added around $300 of value versus the non-error CGC 10 version of this card. So that's pretty neat. $300 of value added. The power of errors. If you were here for last episode, I broke out the old thesaurus just to make sure I'm not saying cool every time, so I'll be sure to mix up a couple of my words here and there. So next up we have a Flareon from Jungle Set, and this is the no symbol error. A CGC 10. Now there's been a little bit of a obsession. I won't call it obsession. I'm lurking in the background watching these 10s, these Gem Mint 10s from any grading company sell for no symbols because I think it's very fascinating. It's like, I call it the wild, wild west where you really don't know what's going to happen. So you see some sell for like 5 times what a non-error will sell for, and sometimes it sells for 63% more than other ones. So it's interesting to track these, and this one didn't sell for very much, in my opinion. Sold for $374 for a CGC 10 Flareon from Jungle Set with the no symbol. It's actually a little bit higher than the CGC 10 Error. So this actually did sell for more than average. It just seems low to me. I don't know. I feel like Flareon's kind of a more valuable card, in my opinion, and I feel like it should sell for more. Like, you look at the PSA examples here, 700 and 400 for error and non-error. So I don't know. I feel like this could have went for more, but maybe CGC just isn't as valuable, which is kind of unfortunate because it's kind of the leader in error grading. But I'm sure PSA would have recognized the no symbol error, so I don't know. But let's wrap it up here. Around $150 of value added to this card. Next up, we have a Shining Gyarados. A raw version of a Shining Gyarados that sold for $900. Ooh! I want to take a look at the... Okay, yeah, that's a clean card. Now, this isn't just a regular Shining Gyarados. Double Hollow variant. And... this one is just easier to tell because there's more hollow and it's just darker. That's my best way to tell. We can zoom in here and kind of see. I always, you'll see a little bit of hollow kind of speckled around the base of Gyarados here. And look, ooh, there's a cool one. So kind of on the tendril? What would that be? That little thing coming off of Gyarados' neck area. But you see right here, it's covering Gyarados, so that is a good indicator. That wouldn't be consistent all the time, but it's kind of fun to take a look and see. If you see something like that, then it is a double hollow variant. Average non-error price already sells for a lot, $400, but this sold for $900. So EVI, again, not crazy because it's a big dog, but around $500 of value added to this raw Pokemon card, and I am excited to see it get graded. Because even the non-error pricing, if you get this looks like a grade 9 at least, in my opinion. You're looking at around $1,000, and so for the error version of this, definitely going to be $1,500, $2,000, I'd say. Next up, we have Stainmon, the best error name ever, and it's unfortunate that the grading companies don't call it that. But we have a first edition Stainmon from Fossil Set with the yellow stain error, the cigar stain error. Lots of names for it, but whatever you want to call it, it's cool. And how this error works is there was one big, or I think there's, two streaks that was going down the card, and every time this got printed on the sheet, it got less and less. So this error became less and less severe as the number of sheets went on. And so this one would be, I would say, on the less severe side, but still sold for quite a bit. $280 for this. Now, I had to double check this. Average non-error price for a first edition Hitmonlee, grade 5, $31. So definitely surprising to me. You know, as you get up higher, it gets a little bit more expensive, but Fossil Set, even first edition, just really wasn't that valuable of a set. So we had an 800% error value increase. Repeating error, yes, it can't find the average error price. It'd be hard to kind of price that out because all the different severities of the error. I had to stop recording there for a second because I was 5 minutes in. I had recorded 12 gigabytes of footage just for my webcam footage. So just trying to save my computer a little bit there. Here I am back in lower quality, but that's the way you know me. Next up, we have a Pichu. And this is from Neo Genesis, and this is an additional ink error. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of surprised this sold for as little as it did. Millennium Rose is a very well respected seller, and they know what they're doing, and so I thought, I guess I shouldn't question them because I don't know what I'm doing, but I thought it'd sell for more, just in my wrong, humble opinion. But let's take a look. So, oh, I hate eBay. Right here, additional ink, I believe it's additional white ink, it looks like, and all throughout the left side of the hollow box here is pretty interesting. Impacts a decent portion of the card, actually, and yeah, it's cool to see. Not much more to say about, really. You know, EVI, not crazy at all. Not even a lot of value added to the card, but I thought, you know what, this is interesting, something I haven't seen before for this card. Let's talk about it. It's my show, dang it, and I can do what I want to. Base Set Clefairy, black dot error, right here. Come on, yeah, look at that right there. Repeating error where the N and the O are covered up by a black dot. can range in size, but typically around the size. I'd say this is probably the most severe example you'll see for it. Maybe that little part right there be filled in as well. Listed for $146, sold for $110. So $100 of value added, and EVI of 834%. Cards in pretty good shape too. Not bad. This was a neat one to look up. So this is a Feraligatr, and this is a Temporal Forces staff card. And it's got that clean crimped, as the the seller said. And let's take a look. So it's pretty clean. I think if it was consistently straight across, that would be clean capitalized, but I guess we'll still call it pretty good. It's always cool on these staff cards too, or just these like different cards that they hand out when the error occurs. Again, how do they decide who gets what? Is it just, you know, some stable boy? Why would the stable boy be handing out Pokemon cards? Just some young lad who doesn't know what he's doing. He's just handing them out, not looking, and then you get really lucky if you get one of the staff cards. I don't know how that works, but it's cool and it adds a lot of value. So average non-error price for this is $26. This sold for $180. That's quite a bit, I would say, due to a mistake, which I think is always fun for this show. It's just we're celebrating mistakes and how much that mistake is worth. Why did I say stable boy? That's just weird. So here's a fun one. There's no other way to describe it. It's just fun. CD promo, Japanese Venusaur Holo Pokemon card. Old, best Venusaur artwork in my opinion. And this is a Holo Bleed. Holo Bleeds are gorgeous. Now everyone's like, Holo Bleeds are pretty common on Japanese cards. Not like this, and that's why it sold for so much. So average non-error price for a freaking PSA 10 example of this, $340. This sold for $780, and it's like, well, where's the Holo Bleed? This is kind of dumb. You need a video to take a look at it, and we're gonna look right now. Ooh, look at that. Now I wonder, again, I haven't seen too many examples of it, but could this be submitted to CGC and actually get that error grade? Is it the low ink error? I should really know this, but let's take one look one more time. Either way, I guess PSA 10 is probably more valuable anyway, but you got swirls going through, you got just everything else. Like, that is just, oh, so cool. Like, yeah. Not much more to say about it. Obviously, back of the card's perfect because it's a PSA 10. And, yeah, what would that be? $300 and $440 of value added to this card. Ooh, I love it. Next up, we have a first edition Venomoth non-holo from Jungle Set with an additional ink error. Now, something I found out recently, like yesterday, this happened on several first edition cards from Jungle Set. In the Discord group I'm in, I'll share a photo of another example of this, but a really cool error, additional ink error, and this cracked the top 10, believe it or not. So this is a CGC 5 example, sold for $125. EVI 1164%, which is good enough for number 8 this week. Yeah, average down there price $10, so that's why we're in the top 10 for this bad boy. That's pretty neat. Right through the eyes too. Let's take a look again. That's pretty neat. Next up, we have a base set Charmeleon with the hip hickey error, the heart hickey error, whatever you want to call it. It's a very, very unique repeating error where there's a printer hickey right here on Charmeleon's hip. It's not a tramp stamp. Is there a name for that? I know there's like the whale tail, the tramp stamp. But this is, yeah, so cool. I love printer hickeys that are multicolored, and I think just on the fire type Pokemon, that's when they were the coolest. You got the yellow and the red. It kind of fits the theme of it. You know, it looks like it's the similar color to the underbelly there. And yes, a very cool repeating error, one that I've wanted for a while. Jealous of whoever got this card. Not in the worst shape, honestly. Like, it's not too bad, especially, again, when you have a repeating error this rare. Who cares? Honestly. Sold for $92, and if you want to pick up a non-error version of this bad boy, $1.64. So that gives us an EVI of 5,510%, which is good enough for number 4 this week. Very neat. Okie dokie. Next up, we have a Kabutops first edition from Fossil Set. Got graded a CGC 8.5, and this is, what do they call it? An obstruction error. Now this looked eerily similar to the, was it the end of hollow roll error? And so I went here and look at this. White line hollows, missing hollow edge. Look, this is actually like kind of eerily similar to what this is. Oh, am I gonna find it? Right there. Like very consistent, even first edition too. So I thought that was interesting. Seems to definitely have happened on almost exclusively fossil cards, and most being first edition. So yeah, cool that CGC recognized that. They called it an obstruction, and this bad boy was listed for $650, sold for $500. And that's just some clean numbers there too. Average non-error price, $100. Again, I took a little bit of liberties because grade 8.5 is not really readily available for pricing, so just kind of took a stab in the dark between the two numbers there. But it's satisfying. So EVI of 400% and $400 of value added as well. Neat card though. Cool that the examples on this forum was very consistent with that. Next up, we have a Greninja Gold Star from Pokemon Celebrations, and this is a cut and crimp error. Now, this isn't typically what you would think with a cut and crimp. You think usually like cuts a card off and maybe there's a little bit of a sliver of it, but this is like the least severe example of this that you could find. So it would be right there where it was cut off. So that's why I'm calling it a cut and crimp error. Usually it would just be a crimp error, and that's pretty darn neat. Look at that. Don't know what angle that would be, but yeah, a very unique one. You don't see it too often on hollows like this. You know, even promos. You'll see it more on promos, just because those are more in the plastic than other cards, I would say. And sold for a lot. Listed for $300, sold for $150, which is quite a bit higher than the average non-error price. Typically goes for $13, so we got 1,044% EVI, good enough for number 9 this week. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Sorry. That's staggering. Next up, OG base set Charizard with the black dot error. Let's take a look. I hate you, eBay. And we have the black dot right here over the second N in Nintendo. We have a hollow shift, and we have some hollow bleed right here, which is not going to show in the photos. Listed for $599, sold for $500. $260 of value added to this card. Repeating error, base set Charizard, black dot. Boy, it's just cool to see the big dog numbers for the big dog too. That's a lot. Next up, we have a Shellos. Never heard of that Pokemon. It's from a 2016 Steam Siege, and this is a square cut error. Now, not just a square cut, 4-corner square cut, which is pretty neat. Cutting process, it cuts it into a square, and then the second process goes and rounds the corners. And so pretty frequently you'll see if it's a square cut error, only 2 of the corners will be rounded and the other 2 will be left square. But that's not the case for here. They completely missed it, and you can see we have an alignment dot right there. Take a look at the back side. Alignment dot right there too in the bottom right. Cool. Got graded a 9.5 and sold for $135. And the EVI of 864%, which is probably number 11 this week, so I'm not snapping no fingers for that. Pawmot EX. $60 miscut. PSA 9 miscut. We have another version of a card right here on it. 3 to 4 millimeters of another card. Right here too, you can see the line of that other card there. Is that an alignment dot? Yes, it is. Sold for $60. Average non-error price for a grade 9 is 9. Next up, we have a Switch item miscut. This is from Scarlet and Violet, and there have been several cards that have had this color bar on the left, which I think is probably the most unique miscut you can get, at least for like one that's not crazy severe. Like, no, it's shifted over a couple millimeters, but to have the color bar shown right there, which shows its edge of sheet, is just incredible. It really is. Just adds so much to it, to an already colorful card, to have that. And that is reflected in the price, let me tell you. Listed for $1,000. sold for $400, which is a lot for a Switch Energy card. Average non-error price is only $450. See the back here, so we have, it's not as consistent as, well, maybe it is. No, it is. Okay, so it looks like it's a little bit thicker on the top left than the bottom left. And yeah, we have some white here, and then just barely any white in the bottom. Why am I not clicking it? So alignment dot, and then no white here, more white on the top right. EVI of 8,789% is good enough for number 2 this week. Ooh. 2. Ooh. Next up, we have a repeating error that is extremely valuable, especially in a PSA 9 example. Here we have a base set Abra with the jet plane error. An ink error where it looks like a little fighter jet right there. Let's take a look right here and zoom in even more. There we go. So just due to the fact that it's in a unique shape where you can kind of identify it with something in the real world, it adds $1,000 and $1,100 of value just about to this card. Because of just that. That is incredible. These always sell for a lot. PSA 9 example is the highest I've seen. And average non-error price is only $25 for this card for a grade 9. So that gives us a high EVI. 4,679%. Good enough for number 5 this week. You'll see this in the top spot if it's a raw card typically, but grade 9s are hard to get into the top 1 spot just because the average non-error price is quite a bit higher. But incredible card, and again, the highest example I've seen sell of the jet plane Abra. Next up, we have a base set Charizard once again, but this is the mirror hollow error, and that just basically means that the star foil here is missing. So it's mainly just the reflective foil within the art box here. And it sells for a lot because mirror hollows sell for a lot, and it's a base set Charizard. So in auction, and if you don't know, in auction, cards don't usually sell for as much. This sold for $887 in 18 bids. How did they do their auction? Start at 600, okay. I listed a card recently, I started at 99 cents, and I'm really nervous. I haven't done that before, so I'll probably get burned on it, but whatever. It's good to learn, I guess. Card's pretty clean, too. Ooh, that's very clean, not bad at all. What's that, PSA 9? And fun enough, there is a CGC 10 example of this card that is currently listed on auction, and it's gonna go for a lot, and I am licking my chops getting ready to talk about that bad boy. I guessed around $9,000 it'll sell for, but we will see. Yeah, and so this card added $650 of value. This error added that much. EVI of 275%. Base set War Turtle Evolution Box error. That should be Squirtle, but it's not. It's War Turtle. Grade 8 sold for $200. Now, my gut was telling me that's a little low, especially for best accepted offer price. No, it's just listed straight up, so I'm sure this sold pretty quickly. Price charting, which has old data, says a grade 7 sells for $230, so I'm inclined to believe this could have sold for more. I feel like I've seen examples sell for more, especially when not in auction. So cool sale, added a lot of value to the card, obviously, as this error always does, but I think it could have sold for a little bit more. But yeah, I love this error. It's one of the staples in the community. You can always rely on them. Here we have another no symbol Flareon, PSA 10 example, instead of a CGC 10. Sold in auction, but with a consignment shop. Sold for $862.69. Nice. And let's take a look. That's about all you gotta see for this card. It's perfect, and it has no symbol. So we're comparing PSA 10 error versus PSA 10 non-error, and we got an EVI of 82%. And this one actually sold over the average error price. So this is where going with a consignment shop and doing a auction actually makes sense, especially if they're advertising. They pay up to 95% payouts. I'm not sure how that really works, how their payment structure works, but you get a lot of eyeballs on it, and I believe they start their bids with 99 cents. Yeah, 9 cents. So someone just like, yeah, I'll offer that, why not? That's cool though. So yeah, not a bad option, honestly, and I think they have better odds too of having people pay, because when you get higher value cards like this, you can get some assholes, I should say. I shouldn't swear on this channel, but I do rarely, that just don't pay, and they kind of ruin the whole auction, because if they win, sometimes they just jacked up the price for no reason, or I don't know why they did it, but Yeah, so consignment shops can be a good option for this, and this sold for a lot, especially in auction. That PSA 10 example. Another stained Monly, I won't go into it too much. 69999. EVI of 900%, which is actually number 10 this week. So I just blew right through that. But yeah, that's a lot for this card. I forget what the other one sold for, but yeah, obviously, no, I think the other one's like a grade 5. This is a grade 8. So $700 for a Pokemon card. And we got number 10 this week. That's pretty cool. That's magnificent. Next up, we have a Ghost Stamp Pikachu. This is a really, really cool repeating error. I am fortunate enough to have found one for like 15 bucks once. It was incredible. Basically, the D and the 1 are completely missing in first edition, and everything else in it is very faded, so they call it the Ghost Stamp error. I'm surprised PSA does not recognize that. But one other thing that's cool about this card, it's off-center just about, you know? If you're already looking for a card that's like different and unique, as most errors are, having a card like this too is just, that just makes it better to see it off-center like that. So that's really, really unique. And this PSA 7 example sold for $360, which is pretty consistent with what the average price is for this. You get a grade 8, you're looking at $700 for this. But yeah, for this, that's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Next up, we have the Ancient Mew Nintendo error right here. Ooh, that's a clear image. I guess this is PSA actually selling it. They do consignment. And this is like the clearest image I've seen of this. If you don't believe me, right there. Nintendo error. Very cool repeating error. I like tracking these because prices range. I've seen 500 and 1400 is the highest I've seen sold, and we see another example right here, 1400. And yeah, averages around 1200, but you know, bops around quite a bit. So it's fun to track. $1,400 for this Air Pokemon card. First edition Ivy Pikachu. PSA 7 example. So with this, the first edition stamp shouldn't be there, but then I've heard someone say it was supposed to be there, it's just supposed to be very rare. So whether it's supposed to be there or not, it adds a lot of value to the card, because a grade 7 for just this card right here, the non-error card, is $15. This sold for $580. Ridiculous. And that $580 is actually pretty consistent. You see average error price for this is $512, so that's just about spot on, and has an EVI of 3,552%, which is good enough for number 6 this week. Next up, we have a Haunter from Fossil set with the ink stain error. Similar to the cigar stain error, repeating error where most severe on the first sheet it happened to, and then as it continued to happen, it got less and less. You'll see some where a little bit more severe, where you'll see a little bit of blue ink on the border of the art box here. But this one, I would say, is pretty darn severe if I had to give it a specific word. Darn severe. And yeah, PSA 8 example sold for $421.59. I'm not sure why it was so specific. Is there another YouTuber out there that asks their viewers to purchase things for 59 cents at the end? Because I asked for 22. So if there's another one out there, let me know. We could maybe combine our forces, and we'll say 22 plus 59 is 81. So that'll be a combined effort. Why am I talking? EVI of 743%. Next up, we have a Shadow Rider Calyrex V. And this is a pretty severe miscut. It's severe enough where I have no idea what this Pokemon is, so if I just saw this card by itself, I'd have a hard time telling what it really is, because the top is missing. That's pretty neat. And let's take a closer look. It sold in auction for $127.50. And we got that fat bottom. No music today. It's not feeling like a music day. But we have an alignment dot here. We can see the top of another card on the bottom here. And what's that back look like? Ooh! So it's not the top of another card, actually. That is edge of sheet miscut. That's my bad. So even rarer and makes it more valuable. Alignment dot here. And yeah, $127.50. And this 1,724% error value increase is good enough for number 7 this week. It's the final card, and we got Krabby on top. Krabby from Fossil set with the slash error, missing ink error, makes it look like there's a 5th finger. PSA 5 example sold for $180. Now, What I find is hilarious here is, let's look at the non-error pricing here. I'll even zoom in so we can see it better. Oh, that's pixelated. Okay, right there. Grade 2, $1. Grade 3, $1. Grade 4, $1. Grade 5, which is where we're sitting at, $1.66. So that's why this sucker won this week, because, and I think this is actually pretty consistent data. Like, no one wants a Krabby from Fossil set for a grade 5. I mean, like, you could buy that cheaper than you could get a raw card, just about. Yeah, look, the ungraded sells for more. So that's crazy. But yes, that contributed to this really high EVI. Let's take a look at the back, see what a grade 5 looks like, just for our own edification. Some whitening, doop-a-doop-doop, right there. Doop-a-doop, boop, 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 boop. $180 for this grade 5. That's awesome for a non-hollow Pokemon card. EVI of 10,743%. I read it with my eyes closed. And that's good enough for number 1 this week. Absolute classic. You'll see this bad boy on top quite a bit. Just because the high value and the low non-error price. Now that's all I gotta say about that. 52 weeks. Thank you all for watching. I am going to be putting in more effort to these videos because I'm like tiptoeing the line of getting monetized, which I'm excited about because that would just incentivize me more to put more value into these videos, make more videos, put out better content, and just overall become a better YouTuber. So thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. To wrap up this week's auctions, we have a Mew Delta species from Pop Series 5 that has the upside down back air. I'll show you that right now. And that sold for $107.50. Well, if you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. Thank you for checking this out. I plan to upload these weekly, so make sure to subscribe and also check out the other videos. Thank you, and talk to you later. Bye.